A Christmas Journey by Louis Lorenzo Redding. It was published in The Opportunity in December 1925. A Christmas Journey. For love the master symphonist, ignoring vanity, creed, and hue, mocks dicta that stifle and twist to give consonant souls their due. The raw sting of the cold night air struck the consumptive's shrunken chest. He gasped, coughed, gasped again, and with a slender hand, quivering from the exertion of his coughing, drew up the collar of his overcoat.
This thing's got me all right. That fool of an army doctor. A lot he knew about gas. And he told me that I'd wear it off in a few months. Wear it off? Well, it'll soon be off now, but not in the way he said.
Abstractedly, he had taken his habitual route homeward. It led through the street market, which was thronged with Christmas Eve buyers, stocking up for the season that the morrow should usher in. The air was full of shrill babble and of the fresh smell of raw foodstuffs. The street was a jumble of motley wares. Nowhere else in Great Boston could be found more eloquent proof of the cosmopolitanism of the city. Improvised signs in Yiddish, Italian, and Spanish, as well as English, leered at the purchasers from all angles. Creeping, pipe-puffing Chinese with American overcoats over their loose native jackets bought greens from Italian merchants. Buxom Irish housewives bought red meat from German butchers. Greeks, Negroes, Poles, everybody bought a great variety of things from that ubiquitous merchant, the Jew. Peanuts and cabbages, carrots and shoestrings, turkeys and bandanas, trousers and cheap jewelry, silk stockings and codfish, all were bargaining for with equal gusto. Here, verily, was a paradise for the poor, but despite the low prices, no sale was complete without haggling. The consumptive, as he weakly jostled his way through the alien melange, saw nothing that interested him. He was more than sated with the world. He loathed everything, even the scrawny yellow fowl that a red-bearded Jew was swinging in the air and offering for sale in the rasping falsetto. Nor did he mask his contemptuous feelings under the hypocritical look of the complacency. His wan countenance was frankly sardonic. "Fools," he muttered between coughs. "Poor, ignorant fools to whom life is $1, a loaf of hard bread, an imitation diamond, and a suit of shoddy woolen underwear, preparing to celebrate Christmas. Bah! What do they know about Christmas? Or what do they care? It's just another holiday for them." A heavy foreign-sounding voice sang out, "Dancing monkeys here, only a quarter. Get a dancing monkey." The words shattered the cynical musings of the consumptive and sent a train of incoherent and confused images swirling through his brain. Dancing monkeys. The sound came with haunting urgency, and the man moved toward the spot from which it seemed to come. He beheld a short, unkempt, alien-seeming peddler standing at the edge of the curb. On the ground beside him was a huge basket filled with bits of painted metal. In one hand, the peddler had a string from the end of which dangled a monkey, crudely fashioned in tin, with a red coat, black trousers painted on his body in burlesque of the apparel of a man. While the peddler lustily proclaimed this toy, he pulled the string and the monkey hopped and jumped, spun, and danced. Occasionally, a passerby ventured from the main current of the crowd to look and pass on, but rarely to buy. There was no fascination for the consumptive in the efforts of the monkey, but he did find himself interested in the degree of imbecility that could cause anyone to invest money in such a glittering, senseless bauble. He looked at the bowling vendor with a feeling of contempt, not unmixed with pity. Why doesn't he get a real job? Anything will be more profitable than this. But there was no answer in the loud cry of the peddler. Again, the emaciated man looked at the dangling monkey. He noted its gaudy man-like costume. He watched its poor pantomime of human dancing, and he looked again at the man who held the string. The latter's eyes were bright with a far-seeing luster. Ah, thought the consumptive, the peddler is a dreamer and a cynic. Perhaps he finds a peculiar significance in this profitless business of selling monkeys. He sees in his painted monkey the likeness of its higher analog, a man. To the peddler, perhaps, the monkey daubed with this thin coating of paint is man, smeared with a thin veneer of civilization. This meddlesome hopping and jumping, spinning and dancing of the monkey represents man, the puppet, fuming turbulently under the strings held by king and warlord, exploiter and slave driver. Just as here and there on the monkey, a gleam of brightness reveals the metal untouched by the paint. So too with man, whose soul-devouring passions and prejudices, whose avarice and bloodthirst reveal this baser self, untouched by the dissembling veneer of civilization. Suddenly, the string snapped. The crazy Jigao tottered defiantly a second and then fell ungracefully to the snow-covered pavement. Aha! Aha! The monkey won't dance. He's broken his string. That's what we've done. Elsie and I. We've broken the fettering strings of society and are resolved to dance no longer. The consumptive moved on. He had promised Elsie that he would return to her early. Near the end of the market block, there were booths where cedar trees and holly were sold. The wholesome Christmas aromas came to him, and he stopped. Searched through several pockets, and having selected all of his change, bought the largest holly wreath he saw. The purchase of the wreath was unreasoned action. It simply completed a reflex caused by the stimulation of the man's olfactory nerve, centers by the cedars and holly. Where the market ended, the street was narrow and dim lit. Ugly, old brick houses, the cellars of which quartered a heterogeneous array of tradesmen's mean shops, lined the street. In many of the windows above the shops were lighted candles. Some windows uncurtained revealed women and children decking Christmas trees. After a time, the man with the wreath turned into a street yet darker and meaner, and flanked with tall houses, which made it seem more narrow than it was. Here there was no shops, nor were there windows from which the candles shone. The consumptive crept over the crisp snow, and when he entered a house, passed through the black hallway, and groped his way up a flight of resounding bare stairs. He paused at the first landing to recover his panting breath. He listened to his labored breathing as it rattled ominously in the frosted air, and there in the darkness he smiled. Then, after climbing wearily the remaining 3 flights, he opened a door and entered a long room which offered a sudden antithesis to anything the dismal appearance of the street would have presaged. The room was well carpeted and was warmed by an open hearth. A reading lamp on a sturdy oaken table cast its glow over books and magazines laying there. In one corner, where the light was faintly reached, the blackness of a low piano blended with the shadows. The further end of the room was screened off. The consumptive went behind the screens. There, in an ancient wooden bed beneath snowy covers, a woman was sleeping lightly. The brilliancy of her abundant black hair enhanced the white purity of the background. Her face, half clouded by a capricious shadow, was composed and untroubled. Suddenly, as if informed by some strange telepathy of the watcher beside her bed, she awoke and gazed into his haggard face. "Jim," she said, "did the druggist let you have it?" "Yes, Elsie. It was easy. How do you feel?" "Rested now, Jim." "What's that?" "Oh, Holly, it's only a few hours before Christmas, isn't it? Do you know, Jim, that I was born just 30 years ago tomorrow on Christmas Day?" "No, I didn't know it, dear. We've never talked about birthdays, but I guess I could have guessed you were born on Christmas or Easter or some holy day." "Holy day, Jim?" "No, Jim. There are no days holy in themselves. They're all alike unless people hallow them in their hearts and consciences. But most people don't hallow them inwardly. They use meaningless symbols like the holly wreath." He hung the wreath on a post at the foot of the bed and then took from his pocket 2 packages and placed them on a small table beside the bed. The woman saw the packages and her somber eyes sparkled. "What's the larger package, Jim?" "The bottle? Oh, that's champagne. From Champagne, or as we had to call it on the furloughs from hell, de vin blanc." And he smiled weakly and began feverishly to unbutton his overcoat. But the eyes of the woman are all-seeing, moreover. Her intuition is mercurial and unerring. "What's the trouble, Jim?" "Nothing, dear. What makes you ask?" "You're not as confident as when you went out. You seem excited." "It's nothing. But Elsie, I've been thinking about 2 things and about you. I've been wondering whether you have ever really cared that we weren't legally married." "Oh, Jim, why do you ask me that?" "No, I've never cared. I've never really thought about marriage. There were too many difficulties. Even if you had been well, our life would have been chiefly with ourselves. Marriage, too, would have seemed too sensational. The officials would have detected that I'm not white. And if they hadn't, I couldn't lie about it. I would have told." And then Jim just imagined the newspaper stories and the editorials ranting of intermarriage and, "Don't, Elsie, don't. The fools who write newspapers don't know that in reality, any marriage is intermarriage. There must be some interchange, some blending, whether it be of dissimilar blood or of some other qualities. I love you because you have every spiritual quality that I don't have, and because you're beautiful, because you're loyal, because your voice is gentle and soft, because your music charms me. You've been what any real mate is, a compliment. As for the newspapers, had I been a well man and had you wanted marriage, that would have come first, despite newspapers or anything else. As it was, I had no right to ask you to tie yourself to a weak and gloomy skeleton." He stopped. Elsie was gazing steadfastly at him, and he continued, "But this illness has changed my ideas. Indeed, who knows, it may have clarified them. For now I hate the world that will deny me happiness after making me a weakling. God, how I detest men's Pharisaic exactions and their smug conceits. I don't see how I could bring myself now to snoop to even one of their conventions. And Elsie, you've been my comforter. You've listened to my ravings and quieted them. You saved me from genuine misery and folly. And all this you've done for a wreck, a mere broken clod. Don't brood, Jim, you must not. I don't mean to, Elsie. but I've been thinking that it isn't fair to persuade you to do this, to go with me if you're not altogether willing. It's all settled now, Jim. I've been thinking too while you were away, and I now know I don't want anything else. And I won't do anything else. Reverently, Jim bent down and kissed her smooth forehead. Then, as if not completely assured, he said, "If you're not sure, Elsie, I can go alone." "Never mind, Jim. We're going together. I won't be separated from you. It's not your fault things haven't gone well. It's just been fate." Then, as if motivated by some slow passion welling up the depths of his spirit, Jim bent over the bed and kissed the woman. Not quickly or impulsive, but deliberately. First her forehead, her cheeks, and her lips. He turned away, with a bowed head walked beyond the screens. When he returned, he sat at the edge of the bed. The woman drew close, and he enclosed her arm in his arm. "Do you know, Jim, this has been a glorious experience. Just two of us, living one for the other with nothing else to live for. I sometimes think that neither of us would have been happy if fate had kept us apart. The sanction of this world for us and for all like us is only fair, but I doubt, Jim, if sanction could have made us any happier. I wonder if the newspapers will get our story. Yes, I can see it now, headlines and all. I don't mind that, Elsie. The thing that I don't like is that I don't know what will be done with us going in this way." "What's found won't be us, Jim dear. But let's not worry these for a few minutes. Let's not even talk. Let's just think and be happy." She nestled closer, as if she thought that physical touch would foster that spiritual communion that she desired. He was content. Whatever doubt he had as to the fairness of taking her with him was overcome by her earnest and tender devotion. She would have it no other way. She was his now and eternally. An hour passed, and the bells, not sweet tone from some rich temple, but harsh and mechanical, began tolling the Christmas tide in. "Are you ready, Jim?" she whispered. "Yes, dear. Are you?" "Yes," she murmured. He reached to the table beside the bed for the smaller package. As he took the contents into a glass, he smiled at the grinning death's head, the red label blazoned. There was a delightful tinkling sound as the champagne bottle in his weak and shaken hand kissed the rim of the glass in which the liquid gurgled. He handed her the glass, and with his free arm drew her close to him. She drank. He took the glass, drank, and dropped it. The bells rang on. They were drowsy now, but still conscious. Their embrace tightened. The bells ceased.